Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the 7th annual celebration of peer mediation brought to you by Kids Managing Conflict and the Institute for Nonviolence in Los Angeles. Thank you all for being here on a wonderful Thursday evening. Give yourself a round of applause for being here. My name is Jason Harper. I'll be your MC and moderator for the evening. And I want to mention that this is the time of year where we get to shine a light on the youngest members of our mediation community and on the future of our industry, to be honest, and the future of the world leaders, as I like to call them. The studies have shown that peer mediation programs have contributed to schools in a number of ways, including the importance of empathy, improved language arts test scores, improved school attendance, improved thoughts of safety and inclusion, and also the reduction of bullying and suspensions and expulsions. Tonight, you will have the opportunity to hear and listen and observe peer mediators talk about the differences these programs have made in their schools and their own lives. And following that panel discussion, we will celebrate Emily Linnemeier. Her work over the past 12 years in conflict resolution education with the Western Justice Center has made a major impact on the schools and teachers in Los Angeles County. But I would be remiss if I did not mention the other luminaries in the house tonight. We have some SCMA board members. If there are any SCMA board members here tonight, if you could please stand up. SCMA board members, we got one over here. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any school administrators? If we could have any school administrators stand up, that would be wonderful. I think we have a few. Don, that would be you. Feel free. That would be Don, that would be you. Miss Asmon, that would be you as well. Please and thank you. Please and thank you. Be recognized. Thank you. Thank you. Glad you're here. All right. And so I would also like to introduce at this time the Executive Director of the Institute for Nonviolence in Los Angeles, Ms. Avis Ridley-Thomas.
Good evening. This is always such a lovely event to highlight peer mediation and the sponsors that host this event for us. In the past, how many years have we had? This will be the 7th year of the celebration of peer mediation. And so I'm just delighted to both welcome you all and thank you for spending this Thursday evening in celebration of peer mediation and what peer mediation does for students throughout Los Angeles. So peer mediation is really by young people, for young people, and it is a problem-solving mode of activity that helps increase peace in school environments. We are relying on these young people to grow up and whatever they do in their lives and careers to take that learning and to apply it in ways that help us just be a better society and a better world. So let's get on with the thanking of the sponsors, USC, the Galen Community Fund, Civic Engagement, Kids Managing Conflict, Community Partners, the Institute for Nonviolence in Los Angeles, and the Southern California Mediation Association. We're always so delighted to partner with you all to do this activity. It's always such an inspiring one. And all of the mediators who have come from over the years working with kids and adults in mediating conflict, you all do us all proud by your work. And we are delighted to continue this partnership with you, celebrating peer mediation. Thank you very much.
And at this time, I would also like to introduce the current president of the Southern California Mediation Association, Miss Angela Reddick Wright. All right now. It's all good. It's all good.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? It's so good to be here, and thank you, Sally and Jason and Avis Ridley Thomas and the boards for both organizations for having Southern California Mediation Association participate and be present and be a part of the work you're doing. As Jason mentioned, I'm the current, my name is Angela Reddick Wright, and I'm the current president of Southern California Mediation Association, following in the steps of folks like Jason, who is a past president of SCMA, two presidents removed, I believe. And it is just such an honor. For those of you who don't know who we are, we're the professional arm of the profession. So we have over 400 members, and our mission is to help provide professional opportunities, development opportunities for mediators to grow and to become highly regarded in the profession. So I'm so proud to be a part of that mission. And we were the organization that helped give birth to Kids Managing Conflict. And it continues to be one of our proudest achievements and one of the things that we just, whenever we are out and about, that we speak of, just because we as mediators, and if you're a mediator in the room, just raise your hand. So we all know that the future of our profession really lies in the young people that are here today. So if we don't do anything else, then we know that our making the investment in young people is really where we all should be, and above and beyond building our own careers and our own professions, that making sure the message of conflict resolution and alternative dispute resolution reaches down into the classrooms at the very youngest levels. So the work you all are doing is God's work, it's important work, and it's the reason that we all do what we do. So thank you, Kids Managing Conflict. And the Institute for Nonviolence. And I'd also like to specifically acknowledge Avis Ridley Thomas, who we had the honor of acknowledging and honoring last year as our highest award that we give out in SCMA, called the Cloak Millen Award. And she was so deserving of that award, and she received it because those of us here in Southern California really consider her the mother of mediation in the Southern California community. And so, Avis, it's always such a joy to see you and to honor you and to acknowledge all you've done for our community. And so I'll close by again acknowledging my fellow board member that's here tonight, Terry Breer. Would you please stand again? Terry is from the Orange County area. So she drove here from Orange County. She's a family law mediator, and she's spearheading one of our signature events that's coming up. It's our Family Mediation Institute, and it's June 6th and 7th at 7th and 8th at the DoubleTree Hotel in Santa Ana. And she wanted me to emphasize, it's a Friday, Saturday event, but the Friday night is about mediator and professional self-care. So all of us, we do a lot every day. We give so much of ourselves, but how many of us really take care of ourselves? And so Friday night, we'll have a great event and a great speaker that's focusing on mediator and professional self-care. So I have some cards. I had Terry stand because I want you to be able to approach her, ask her about the event. And then we have our Employment Mediation Institute this Saturday right here at USC, the law school. We welcome you to that as well. And she's not on the board, but she's one of the leaders for sure in SCMA, Stacy Lisk, who heads up our professional development groups. For those of you who are looking to get more involved in small groups to discuss mediation, talk to Stacy. Raise your hand, Stacy. So with that, I would like to thank you. We support Kids Managing Conflict. We support the Institute for Nonviolence, and we always will. And we applaud you. And for the young people that are here today, I just say keep it going. And you are our future, and we are relying on you to solve the world's problems, okay? So thank you very much.
Angela Reddick Wright, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Angela. And so now, hold on a second. So now, what I'd like to do is present to you the panel discussion with peer mediators this evening, so you can hear firsthand the experience of these students and how the program has impacted their schools and their lives. And I have a wonderful group to invite to the stage. And this group represents Lawndale High School in Hawthorne, California, the city of Hawthorne. And at this time, let me introduce our panelists, starting with, and when I call you up, please feel free to come up the stage and take your seat as I tell them about yourself. Miss Kiera Martin. Kiera Martin is an 18-year-old senior at Lawndale High School. She's been in the Biomedical Careers Academy for 3 years and the Academy of Media Arts for 1 year. At Lawndale, she is on the board of the Black Student Union. She is a cheerleader and a part of the Speech and Debate Club, the Queen Club, and the Friendship Club. Kiera faced challenges her freshman and sophomore year, but her junior and senior year, she found herself turning over a new leaf. Kiera has now been able to help shape and mold students who face similar situations as she did during her freshman and sophomore year. And next year, she will be planning to attend Northern Arizona University and will major in criminal justice. And her plans are to be an FBI or a CIA agent. However, above all of that, she is a mediator. Miss Kiera Martin, thank you very much for being here. Our next panelist is Miss Ashley Hayward. Miss Ashley Hayward, come on up. Ashley is another 18-year-old senior at Lawndale High School who will be graduating next month, actually, so it's coming up quick. She has also been involved in the Black Student Union, Queen and Friendship Club, and for 2 years, she was a cheer trainer for the Inglewood Jets cheerleaders, working with young girls aged 4 to 7. In her early years of high school, Ashley was involved in a few conflicts that resulted in her participation in several mediations. But as a senior, she became a peer mediator to help younger students understand that there's a solution to things and it doesn't always have to be violence. After high school, Ashley will pursue studies that will assist her in becoming a mental health counselor or a nurse in the mental health facility. Thank you so much for being here. She is a mediator, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. We also have Miss Gianni Jones. Miss Gianni Jones, come on up. Gianni Jones is also a senior mediator at Lawndale High School, and she participates in many clubs and organizations on campus, including the Link Crew, Track, and the Friendship Club. And outside of school, she tutors young people at her church. She's very passionate about working with kids who are younger than her, and after school, she wants to join the military and study in nursing to become a pediatric nurse. Miss Gianni Jones, mediator, thank you very much for being here. And finally, the coordinator for the Peer Mediation program at Lawndale High School, Miss Dawn Ketchens. Dawn Ketchens serves as an intervention specialist and coordinator of the Peer Mediation program. Thank you so much for being here. In this capacity, Ms. Ketchens serves as a catalyst for positive school culture by promoting community and intentional connections among all students, staff, and parents. She is passionate about building relationships with students as a means to affect and influence positive change and growth. Her emphasis on building trust, establishing rapport, and creating a sense of belonging contribute to favorable outcomes for students. She has demonstrated an ability to guide with compassion and a strong sense of relatability, and I have noticed this firsthand. She's an educator for 17 years, and she has worked as an education specialist serving students with IEPs in self-contained classrooms and inclusion programs. You've done quite a bit in your time. Ms. Ketchens believes strongly that explicitly teaching conflict resolution skills has a potential to change, shape, and mold the trajectory of a young person's life. Ms. Dawn Ketchens, everyone. So I'm extremely honored that all of you could be here this evening. And so the first question I wanted to ask are for the peer mediators. And you all have your mics? All right, we're good. Make sure you turn it on. Bet. All right. Okay. So, first question. Oh, here we go. Here's the second one. There you go. So my first question for the peer mediators is, what did you think of the peer mediation program before you joined in? Did you hear about it, and what did you think about it before you decided to join?
Okay. I thought about it. I thought they was being nosy at first because I was always in them because I was like our little group. Me and Kara was in the same group, so we was always in trouble. So I'm like, oh, we about to go in this office again. We about to get in trouble again, and they being nosy. They gonna snitch to the office. But now that I'm like in it and like helping the younger classmates, it's not even being nosy. It's just like trying to help because some of the stuff you be fighting over, you don't even gotta fight and go. It just could be fixed at the end of the day. And I appreciate being in it more. And I appreciate the help that we got 9th to 10th grade year. So I like it now. It's like, it's real calm.
Anyone else? Anyone else?
Well, my freshman year, I was also in the office a lot. It's kind of weird because my freshman year, my group was always fighting with their group. Now we're really good friends. So I feel like freshman year, the mediation, it didn't get to us because we were still young and all we wanted to do was solve our problems with violence. And I feel like now since they see us as peer mediators, we're kind of like, I don't want to say the face of Lawndale, but a lot of students look up to us. So I think when they see us as peer mediators, they think like, okay, maybe it can be fixed because we see where they were before and we could easily grow and become like how they are now.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. My question for Ms. Catchins. Now, what gave you the idea to coordinate the peer mediation program, and were there any challenges starting it up?
Actually, it existed prior to me coming into my position as an intervention specialist. The difference is I was able to have it as a course where the kids could actually be involved, have it assigned in their schedule. Also, the funding for it. I was able to be creative with getting PBIS funding to fund the program because it is an intervention, behavior intervention. So the funding part, I was able to get more money so we can do a lot more. So having it as a course was helpful because prior to that, I would have to get the kids out of class and they were missing valuable instructional time. So it was very important to have time with them. Even a lot of times we're not always in mediation, so the time that we have together weekly is valuable. I do a lot of my training during that time, so I don't have to do the training outside of the school day, so that's been helpful. Some challenges. I'm a little unorthodox about the way I choose my peer mediators. As you can see, these 3 young ladies were fighters and were always involved in conflict. So the challenge that I get is from other staff members actually questioning my choices. And so a lot of times I have to defend them. They're not perfect, they're still learning, but I believe wholeheartedly in what they're doing. And just to see the growth in them, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I don't want to get emotional about it, but to see them and who they've become, because I know the path that they were headed on, it wasn't a good one. I mean, they were looking at being expelled from school in many cases, and in many cases, I was the only person in the room advocating for them. Still to this day, advocating for them. So that's probably one of the biggest challenges because I think there's benefit in their experience and being in a lot of conflicts. And like Gianni said, the kids, when they see them, they're like, okay, you can relate. You know what's up. They speak the language. When they're trying to unpack the story and get to the root of the issue, they get to it quickly because they've been there. And so that's a skill that is very difficult to teach. You can't teach that. Like, that instinct, being able to see what the root is, and unpacking. Oh my God, unpacking, it can, sometimes my head is spinning, but they're able to see it right away. So that's probably one of the biggest challenges.
Interesting. And you talk about the history of the young ladies as students at the school and how you have to advocate for them. My question for the peer mediators: how do the students view you now versus then? And does that help? Are they more inclined to go through peer mediation because they've seen yourselves go through it? You can feel free.
Okay, so sometimes you have students who look at you like, why do I have to listen to you if you're the same age as me or something like that? But then sometimes you have students who actually want to learn from you and listen and go through mediations. Like, it's easier for me to talk to someone who's the same age as me because I understand why you're upset or why you feel this type of way about the situation. So you have the good and the bad.
She kind of just stole what I was gonna say, but it's like the best of both worlds. It's like sometimes you have the students that don't want to deal with the mess or the drama, and they want to get through the peer mediation. Like, okay, this may help because we know how you guys were, and you guys are doing good right now, and we want to get like that. And then we have some students that was like us our freshman year. We didn't want to hear it from anybody. We just wanted to fight. We thought our problems would be solved by fighting. So I think it just takes time to get into the student, to actually figure out what the root of the problem is, because sometimes it's other stuff that's outside of school that happens at home and stuff that they don't really tell the teachers and administration because they're adults, and they probably feel like, you know what, you're an adult, you're not gonna understand me. So I think that's where we come from too, where they can just talk to us about problems that's outside of school also.
Yeah. That's called cultural capital. It allows you that credibility, so that's a great thing. Ms. Ketchens, you talked a little bit about the training that you do within the confines of the actual period that you were able to establish for the peer mediation program. Tell me a little bit about that training and what that looks like.
Well, it looks different for each student, especially for this group. They were very unique this year because they've actually been with me when I started this position 4 years ago. So when I first started doing mediations, they were the first group that I ever mediated. And so when they became mediators, they really had most of the skills that they needed. They knew what the script was because they...
Some good training.
So this group was very unique in that I didn't really have to do too much formal training with them. Prior to me kind of taking control of the program on my own, we were working with Sentinel Youth Services. And so they had some curriculum that they provided and a script that they provided that we worked from. Of course, I adapted that to our population because some of it was just a little bit, in my opinion, a little elementary just for the population, the very mature students. And so some of it was like, okay, we're gonna leave that out, we'll include some of that. So typically, we go over whatever the script is, they know what the ground rules are. We role play a lot. We pre-conference before every mediation just so we can make sure that they are aware of all of the circumstances. We debrief. So a lot of, for them, it was really on-the-job training that really took place, and they really didn't require too much formal training. The group that I had last year had to do a full day formal training because 50% of them had never participated in a mediation before. So that was a full day training, and that was approved by my principal. She allowed me to take the kids to the district office, and we did a whole full day training where we went through the script, they role played, and we did some other activities just around empathy and things like that. But for them, it was really on the job, a lot of debriefing, me letting them just take the wheel, and then afterwards we kind of go through and dissect what happened. I give them, pros and cons, and then allow them to evaluate themselves. And so typically that's what I did with this group. So every group is different.
No, that's good. That's good. And for the peer mediators, you alluded to it a little bit, but what are some of the conflicts that you're seeing? I mean, Ms. Ketchen said that, you have more mature students, and with that probably comes more mature issues. So what were some of the issues that y'all have seen in peer mediation?
We have more verbal. Verbal more like it got stopped before it can get to the fight. So they more verbal. We have some social media.
A lot of
A
social media.
But the social media, it goes into school and then it turns into verbal. So it's really that. But we don't do, I don't think we did a fight one this year, like where they fought. No. Because it never got to that, to be honest. Okay. Oh, yeah, you did one, yes. Was it verbal? Yeah, it was verbal. So it's really social media, and then it leads to school. And then we have some that come to us and be like, I want to have a mediation.
Yeah.
With her and him or whatever, but nothing.
Well, you bring up the social media aspect of it, and that's something that we're seeing a lot more in the schools.
Yeah.
So if you were to give that a percentage, what percentage of the disputes you're seeing are social
100%.
media fueled?
Yeah.
Y'all say 100%?
Yes.
That's how bad it is.
100%.
You was there. You remember the whole
You know
eyebrow
what?
situation.
I was there for one of them. We're not going to confidentiality. But we're glad you're here, though. We're glad you're here. So tell us, do you have any interesting mediation stories? Not including anyone in the Galen Center this evening.
Okay, yeah. Okay, the one I did yesterday? Okay, yeah. Okay, so the one I did yesterday, it was between two girls, and one girl had recorded someone in public, and she had recorded their eyebrows. And then the other girl had sent it back and was like, you shouldn't record somebody in public because you wouldn't want somebody to do it to you. And the girl response was, I can do whatever I want. Like, this is my social media. If you don't like it, you can remove me or whatever. And so then the girl was like, well, you don't look good yourself to be recording someone else. And then the girl who posted it didn't respond. But then her sister took it upon herself to message the girl who messaged her. And it just started a whole commotion because the girl who had originally sent the snap back, she felt disrespected. But I felt like in both, like I seen both sides, because one side was you shouldn't record people in public, and then the other side was, well, this is my social media, so I can post whatever I want. If you don't like it, then you can unfollow me. It just all depends on like your maturity level, I feel like, because sometimes if you're like, I guess like I could say young-minded, then you're gonna do stuff that you wouldn't want other people to do. But once you're like mature and like you think about things, you're gonna know like, okay, well, I wouldn't want somebody to record me in public if I didn't look right, so I wouldn't do it to someone else. So, yeah.
I love that you characterize that as young-minded behavior and referring to young students. There's some young-minded adults out here, and it's a real shame. Does anyone else have any other interesting mediation stories before we kick it to the audience?
Okay. I have a very interesting mediation story. We weren't mediators. We were all freshmen. This is the time when we weren't getting along very well. Honestly, the mediation, I don't even know what to say about it, because I feel like the mediators that we had our freshman year, they helped, but in a sense, it's like we mediated it. Like we took control of the mediation. And we used to fight over small stuff. Like it could be, oh, why did you look at me like this when I was in the lunch line? It could be stuff like that, not even necessarily social media type for our freshman year. And there's a lot of mediations that I've been in personally. I can give an example of one where a girl felt like this had nothing to do with social media. She felt like I was taking her friend away from her. She felt like me and another girl's friendship was more closer than her and our mutual friend. And she didn't like me because I was friends with her best friend. And she felt like, why are you friends with her? You need to only be friends with me. Just petty stuff like that. And in order for me to fix that, I just distanced myself. I was just like, you know what? You can have your friend. That's fine. Like, I don't want to fight you. It was just, it's
Happens.
just small stuff like that.
Thank you very much for sharing that. What I'd like to do now is open this up for any audience questions. And the place, I'm coming to you, But what I'd like to do first is I would like to ask if there's anybody here that who has seen the handiwork of these peer mediators, who would like to say a few words about how this peer mediation program here at Lawndale High School has helped the campus and themselves to a certain degree.
Okay, wait, disclaimer.
Wait, can you elaborate what he said?
Yeah, disclaimer. This is Miss Skylar White. She's an 11th grader at Lawndale High School. And she is actually a future peer mediator. And yes, give it up for her. She has also come a long way. Can I share with them how I met you the first time?
I don't even remember how she met me the first time.
Yeah, the first time I met her, she was chasing somebody around school with a pair of scissors. Okay? Very delightful young lady. The best person. No, seriously, the best personality. She will make you laugh when you're feeling your worst. Like, she is just a ray of sunshine. But if you get on her bad side, look out. But I have high hopes for her, and I know that once she becomes a peer mediator, she's already grown, yes, exponentially. But I'm looking forward to working with her and grooming her some more. But I just wanted to just give that disclaimer because she hasn't had any formal training. So I don't know what she's going to say right now.
So, if you are so inclined, would you like to talk about your experience and how you've seen the peer mediation program at Lawndale High School? How would you describe it?
With them, the new people, or in general?
Just what's
Okay.
your experience?
My experience with the people, I've never been one in a group. But Kiara, I would text her and ask her should I go off on this person about this situation? She'll tell me don't do that because maybe it's not like that. Maybe it's not like that. And then I be thinking maybe it's like that because I feel like this person don't like me. And I be feeling like that because I don't know. Because people do be looking at me crazy and I just be like, boo, what you looking at? And then, but I can't always do that because it's always going to be people that look at you some type of way and say
Amen.
stuff. And you can't just always be booing people if they look. And maybe they think you pretty and they just get to say something. So I got to think good. And then when
Assume positive intentions.
Yes. And then with Miss Catchings, oh my gosh. She used to get on me about certain stuff. But, it was worth it because I was a little... But now, if I have changed because of her, because she's never given up on me, no matter what. I don't want to cry, guys. And I appreciate her.
Thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate it. That was great. That was great.
She did good.
She was great. That was great. We have a question over here.
Okay. So, Ms. Dawn?
Yes.
Dawn, okay.
Yes.
I apologize. I can't remember your last name, so I called you by your first name.
That's okay.
Okay. So is there, what is being done as far as advocating not at the curriculum level? Is there discussions as far as with the director of at the state level, at the federal level, making this, just pushing this into more curriculums?
Not that I personally know of at that level. Just in my little world at Lawndale High School, we are pushing for something because we have something called Canvas at our school where the kids, the curriculum is actually online. And so we're pushing to have it become a Canvas course and then something that all of our students have access to. We have a new student seminar in the 9th grade that all of the 9th graders have to take. And so I'm pushing to have the curriculum kind of integrated in what's already set. They do a lot of health, they do social emotional things. And so this year I was able to actually go into all of the 9th grade classes and do presentations on conflict resolution. And I'm hoping to get what we do and actually get the curriculum, a part of that curriculum in some way integrated. I would hope in the future that it would become a full course that students can take in the 9th grade, because I think that's when it's most valuable and beneficial for them. They come to us in the all 9th grade classes come to us off the chain. I mean, most of the discipline is towards 9th graders. Suspension rates, if you look at the suspension rates, is mostly 9th grade students. It's mostly female. It's mostly African American female. And so because of that, that's been my passion. And that's why I kind of, obviously I can relate to them. I'm a Black woman. I was a young female. And so I can relate to them. And because I see the numbers, I kind of go after them. I seek them. So when they come in the office and things like that for different reasons, I'm the one that's always, I'll work with them, But in terms of curriculum, I'm working on my site, but I don't know anything at the state or federal level. I'm not familiar with anything.
That was a great question. We have time for one more question, and we'll have it right here.
Hello, I'd just like to congratulate you first for being such a success at your school. I think it has a lot to do with your calm demeanor, and you understand the problems that young people are going through, because we all know at that age they have so much energy and hormones are going up and down, and you are able to deal with that, and I think that's wonderful. But I would like to know, and I think everyone in the room would want to know, how did you convince your principal, and how did you get to use the room at the district to have the training? And that takes quite a bit to get the district on board so that they realize this program is needed in every single school.
Actually, I was fortunate because I came in when they restructured the dean position. The position that I hold was originally dean, was a dean position, and they revamped it and named it intervention specialist. And so when they did that, the district was also looking at alternative means of correction because of our suspension data. And so we were sent, I was sent to a 4-day training around community building and conflict resolution. It was a 4-day training. I'm drawing a blank of what it was through. The IIRP, International Institute for Restorative Practices. Yeah, the IIRP. And so there was anyone that's interested in getting any training around community building circles, because I do a lot of that, restorative circles and conferences, community conferences, because they participate in the conferences where we have to bring the parents in or other community members. It's a 4-day training, and it's phenomenal. It's the best training I've ever been a part of. And so they sent me on that training. I kind of just took off. I kind of had a little liberty. My principal is very supportive of everything that I do. She believes that I have a gift, and so anything that I say I want to do, she's like, okay, go, do it. And she wanted to come tonight, but she had something else that she had to go to, but she's extremely supportive. And so I would say the training helped because I was able to come back and I was equipped with the knowledge to actually implement the things that I learned. But also she was highly supportive, and so she was like, okay, you wanna try this mediation thing? You wanna put all these people in the room? Okay, let's see, let's see how it goes. So she, definitely had a lot of trust in me. And I think I rose to the occasion because 4 years later, I'm still doing it. And I have all the liberty in the world when it comes to them. So that's why I'm able to advocate and get who I want. They really don't fight me too much on it. So I was blessed. But I will say getting the training would at least equip you with the language, right, and the research, and then the knowledge to actually implement some type of program.
First off, I want to, well, actually, there was something that you wanted to say. Go ahead. No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, well, I wanted to like backtrack to what Ms. Ketchens was saying about like ninth graders coming in. Well, I know like from looking and then me being a ninth grader, a lot of like our energy and aggression comes from like, you know, we're in middle school, so we're watching like High School Musical. We're watching like all these shows, and we think this is how high school is going to be. Like the 12th graders are going to take in the ninth graders, like they're going to look out for us. And then when you get there, it's not like that. It's like they're the ones who's coming after you. So it's like that's where a lot of the aggression comes from, because like I know for me, I was like, okay, you older than me, but you're not going to talk to me like that. So it was like conflict happens there when you expect for someone to look out for you, are you to look up to someone, and then it's not like that. So yeah, that's what I want.
Thank you very much. Please give a round of applause for Lawndale High School. And we actually have some gifts for the students. We'll go students first. We have some Kids Managing Conflict notebooks for our illustrious peer mediator students. Thank you all very much. Thank you all very much. And for Ms. Ketchens, we know that you are going to be moving up and moving on, and so we wanted to thank you for the work that you have done in these years as peer mediation coordinator, as a teacher, as a mentor, as a leader. And so with that, we wanted to present you with a bouquet of flowers. No, thank you. Thank you. We want to celebrate you for all that you have done. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Ketchens, Ms. Dawn Ketchens of Lawndale High School. Yes, so thank you very much. All right, if I could have, if we could take pictures, that would be wonderful. All right, everyone. And now for our one-on-one sit-down of the evening. For our guest of honor, I would like you all to learn a little bit about Emily Linnemeier. Emily Linnemeier was the program director at the Western Justice Center, where she focused on collaborating with public schools to create secondary and elementary school conflict resolution education programs. She designed and implemented conflict resolution education materials with her colleagues and advised on peer mediations and referral systems on school campuses, as well as other conflict resolution programs. Prior to joining the Western Justice Center, she was a field representative in the District Office of California State Senator Deborah Bowen. And Emily has also interned with the City of Los Angeles Human Relations Commission on issues of public safety, and with the Asian Pacific American Dispute Resolution Center, where she received her mediation training as a conflict resolution specialist. She received her Master's of Science in Conflict Analysis and Resolution in May of 2005 from the Institute for Conflict Analysis and Resolution at George Mason University. Please welcome our guest of honor of the evening, Miss Emily Linnemeier. Hi. Is your mic on?
Can you hear me?
Nope.
There we go.
All right. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Now, I don't know if y'all knew this, probably didn't. Emily has recently relocated. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing now.
So I left Los Angeles. I'm very sad to not be here any longer. I love this city and area. And went back to where I'm from, Northern Virginia, and I am now pursuing my PhD at the same place I got my master's. It's now the School for Conflict Analysis and Resolution at George Mason University. So for all of you young people out there, the skills you are learning as peer mediators are important skills that you can bring. They're going to be valuable to any workplace you go to throughout your lives, but you can also study it all the way in getting your PhD if you so choose to do.
Well, I think that's awesome, and hopefully you'll bring that PhD back to California sooner than later. Let's start at the beginning. What was it that got you into conflict resolution education? Was it your time at the human relations, or looking at public health? What was it that brought you in?
Well, when I graduated from college, I started working for an organization that focused on U.S. policy in the Middle East. And I always knew I wanted to continue my education and was looking around for what I might want to pursue. And conflict resolution kept catching my mind. While I was working, September 11th, 2001 happened, and just studying U.S. policy in the Middle East, thinking that there's got to be better ways for us to resolve the issues that are happening in our world. So that really drew me into conflict resolution. And initially I was focused more on international, but realizing there's so much within our own communities where we have a lot of knowledge and can make a great impact really brought me more to community level type of conflicts. And it's funny because many of my family are educators, and I was always like, no, I'm not going to be an educator. But I think you all saw our young leaders here tonight, that there's so much potential there. And so I think education is really a location where we can have an impact. And if you look at any social movements that have happened in our world, they're always led by young people. So I think working in that space is really important.
So then that kind of brings us to the Western Justice Center. Tell us a bit about how you found the Western Justice Center, or how they found you, and what the beginning was like with them.
Well, I did an internship at the Los Angeles Human Relations Commission, the city part of it, and I had a really awesome internship coordinator. Her name was Emily Williams. Some of you may know her. And after I finished that and went back to finish my master's program, she forwarded me some, actually, the first position I had was working for State Senator Deborah Bowen, but Emily kept in touch with me, and she actually forwarded me the position that was open at the Western Justice Center, which was great because it's directly in the field of conflict resolution. So making connections is definitely very important. Building relationships is a really integral part of this type of work.
Yeah, and in your time at the Western Justice Center, you made quite a few connections, professional and personal. And speaking of those personal connections and the people whose lives that Emily has touched, we have quite a few members of the Western Justice Center here tonight. If all the members of the Western Justice Center could please stand up so you all can be acknowledged for the work that you all have done. If we can have a round of applause for the fine folks at the Western Justice Center. Thank you very much. Kevin, thank you very much. So, now in your time at the Western Justice Center, what were some of the challenges that you saw in, implementing or helping implement conflict resolution education in the schools?
I mean, I think there's always support for the idea of conflict resolution education in schools. And, working with young people, they always dove right into it. They took on the skills and really took on the leadership opportunities. But a lot of times our schools have so much put upon them, and just all the responsibility they have, sometimes it slips through the cracks, being able to lead these programs. We have Ms. Ketchens, who has been so dedicated, and you have to have someone like that at a school to keep a program growing. So the more we can make these types of programs part of the policies of the school, the more that they'll become implemented in them, and then bring those dedicated people in. But that can be some of the challenges.
So would you say that, it sounds like the students are really, gung-ho about it. The teachers through programs that the Western Justice Center provides, whether it's the Peer Mediation Invitational or the ABCs of Conflict, which I'll ask you about in a little bit. But it sounds like it's more about the administration and their level of buy-in. Would you say that that's the key, or is there something else?
Well, I think a lot of administration does buy in. Sometimes there is this whole deficit model around students that they're not where they're supposed to be. But I think, as you can see, young people really know what's going on in their schools, and they have the skills and the knowledge to be able to resolve the conflicts that are going on. So building that encouragement among the adults to know that that expertise is in their school. And I think a lot of adults do support, but I think just it's a large thing, but investing more in education and the importance of it is something that needs to happen in our society as a whole.
Yeah.
And realizing that until people feel safe, until they feel included, until they feel a part of a school community, they're not going to learn. So if we invest in conflict resolution education and similar types of programs, we're going to build that type of community where everyone wants to learn. It's going to make that academic part of it that much easier.
Oh, that's good. That's good. You talked about some of the programs, and I alluded to some of the programs that you've been an instrumental part of, talking about the Peer Mediation Invitational and also the ABCs of Conflict, both presented and hosted by the Western Justice Center. Tell me a little bit about your experience in being at the helm at two of those programs.
So the Peer Mediation Invitational was started in 2003 before I was at Western Justice Center, but just to recognize the accomplishments that young people are bringing to their schools. And I'm always amazed to go and see these students who've been trained, and they receive training, but then they bring so much of what they know about their age group and the communities of which they're a part to these programs. And just to see students from different schools come together and share their skills with one another and learn from one another. And then the great adult mediators we brought in, such as you and Susie and others here in this audience. It's a wonderful day. And I really enjoyed being a part of that. And, we had Kevin and Lori come and bring student actors from the Los Angeles County High School of the Arts.
And they're very good.
Yes. To make it a really fun day and use the arts as a way to engage. I think it's important that we celebrate what these students are bringing and what the educators who support them are bringing to the schools. And you also asked about ABCs of Conflict, which is a conflict resolution education teaching program. And to see the commitment that so many educators are bringing and wanting to have these skills to share with their students so they can create more of a community at their schools has been really important. And we always have a lot of people who sign up, so it shows that there is a desire on the part of educators and schools to bring these programs in.
Yeah.
And I have an amazing co-trainer who helps me.
That's very kind. That's very kind. But it is a team effort, and it's a team effort shared by a number of great individuals. Kevin, of course, Lori, Teresa, my personal photographer. Thank you very much. And Nisha as well. Thank you very much for all of your help. Yeah. We're doing this? We're doing this? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. And so I guess my last question is, what do you see for the future in this field of conflict resolution education?
Well, I've been really encouraged just to see how each individual school takes their programs and expands them to whatever the needs at their individual campuses are. You heard Lawndale speak, and I also know University High School and Fremont really are combining restorative practices with peer mediation, and I think that allows for a new way of dealing with any sort of challenges that are going on campuses, where you can still keep including everyone and letting them know that they're a valuable part of our school community, but providing, through peer mediation and interpersonal conflicts, students are the best resource to help resolve those conflicts. And then if it comes to more unbalanced types of conflicts, having the restorative justice program there to make sure that there's some real learning and accountability going on is really important. And then you have South Pasadena High School, for example, who have expanded to include mental health resources as part of the peer mediation program that they provide. So I think really the future of peer mediation is, it's such an amazing program. The students who go through it and are trained, you can see from our previous panelists, how wonderful of a program it is, but being able to expand it so that the whole campus can be as involved as possible through programs that focus on whatever justice-oriented needs are necessary on that campus, I think is really important.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I would like to give a small story of my experience with Emily Linnemeier. So back in 2013, I was voluntold by the SCMA to come up with an event, of my own for their professional development series. And I said, oh, well, I've been doing some peer mediation. I think that'll be a good event. Wouldn't be too bad. And at that point, I was trying to figure out who in the world am I going to have at this event. And one of the very first people to say yes, and it didn't take very long either, was Emily Linnemeier. And in that small room at the Santa Monica Public Library, you were a superstar on the very first panel for the very first celebration of peer mediation event. Your eagerness, your intelligence, and your passion for this, and this being conflict resolution education, this being schools, this being students, this being our future, that all of those things were evident from the moment I met you. And it has been an honor and a privilege to train with you, to mediate with you, to have lunch at random spots in Culver City with you.
And beignets.
And beignets. And the beignets. Who can ever forget the beignets, as we all have experienced. Yes, it's beautiful. But I just want to say that it has been just an amazing experience that's made me better. And I think that I can speak for a vast number of teachers, administrators, students, parents, communities that are touched by the work that you have done in Los Angeles County and beyond. So with that in mind, can you give a round of applause for Miss Emily Linnemeier? And we wanted to present you with this bouquet of flowers. So it's massive to match the impact that you've had on Los Angeles County. One more round of applause for Emily Linnemeier.